Hello, Wagwan. Welcome to another episode of the group chat. So today in the group chat, I have what is going to be a very special episode to me. I'm going to be really vulnerable. So if you guys can allow the space for some vulnerability, and the title of this episode is called My Journey Redefined. So I'll be sharing some backstory about me, my life, my journey, and how it came to this point where now I'm living out my journey redefined. And I'll explain some more about what this is a little bit later in the episode. Now, I recorded this episode already, and it was going to be posted on March 8th, which is my mom's birthday, also Women's International Day. So I made it kind of like really special, and I was, going to ask you guys to wish my mom a happy birthday. And I also shared with the fact that she lost her dad, my grandpa, 5 days before her birthday. The day of, and I was talking to her for her birthday, and I was telling her like, hey, I'm going to drop an episode, and I mentioned this, that, and she was like, you're not posting that today though, right? And I was like, yeah, that was the plan. She asked me not to post it because she didn't want the day of her birthday to be centered around the grief that she was also experiencing, and respectfully so, I opted out of posting the episode last week and dropped the oldie instead, unreleased episode. So if you haven't seen that yet, go check it out. So yeah, I didn't post it then. So because it was really centered around her birthday and like Women International's Day, it didn't make sense to just post the episode because it's kind of like it missed its time. So I'm re-recording it, still keeping the same tone of that episode, where I will still be kind of like highlighting my mom in my story, and transitioning from back then to now. So I'm gonna jump into it with, again, sharing some back-end story of my childhood. So my earlier years, right, I remember being in the 6th grade and kind of like being bullied, but not like in the worst way, not like you see on TV where like I'm getting like physically hit or anything like that. Nothing too crazy. But I used to be bullied for my smile. I didn't, have all of my teeth, and still don't, obviously. I'll get into, again, the timeline is gonna reflect that. So I used to be picked on for it, and again, so 6th grade, used to be picked on for it, and I knew how to defend myself. Because again, I was a tomboy, right? I was like one of the guys, kind of, sort of. So I defended myself in those years. And it wasn't so troubling those years, right? Then I remember when I was like 11 years old, before my mom's wedding, I was outside playing and I was on a swing, and the swing was a bit higher than my height at the time. So I needed assistance getting in and out of the swing. When a fight broke out while I was on the swing, and so now I'm like ready to get off the swing and go elsewhere because I needed to stay here for the fight. And everybody was preoccupied with watching the fight, so no one assisted me in getting out of the swing. So I tried to come out the swing myself, and I felt face forward into the ground, knocked the tooth on this side, which is why I had the biggest gap on this side at the top, pushed the tooth up into my gum, and it was stuck for a while. The day of my mom's wedding, my gum was swollen. And I didn't get to be the flower girl because of that. She picked someone else. And that was that's a story for a whole different day. But, that definitely kind of affected me for a very long time, because I, felt like I wasn't beautiful enough to be her flower girl, but granted it was because my lip was swollen, right? But my brain translated to that, me not being good enough. And that's one of the things that I've had to overcome, to not be the person y'all see here in front of y'all today. And I made some notes because when I tried to share that, when I recorded the first episode, I was really nervous and I was overthinking the whole episode. And I was nervous because I've done a lot of work behind the scenes. So sharing it now on the scenes is like a whole new avenue for me. And I don't want to share this story from a place of like, oh, feel sorry for me, I was going through all this stuff. That's not why I'm here at all. I'm sharing from a place of empowerment. That's why I started this podcast, to help empower others to be able to get out of their comfort zone and do the things scared. like the episode I had with Miss Candace the other day, and she was just like, do it scared, y'all. And I've been doing it scared. And, it's something empowering for me. So hence why I'm wanting to share this story with you guys today. Now, again, those years, the younger years, I didn't really hate myself because I thought that it would have been resolved by now. I didn't think I would be sitting here with you guys at this big age, still having the dental situation that I have. I don't know what to call it sometimes. But I thought it would have been resolved before I even cared about my physical appearance. Now, fast forward to 7th grade, when I first came into this country, I realized that my smile made me a turn off to boys, right? Or at least to any boy I had a crush on. And that's when things kind of like gradually start to go downhill for me. I started to take interest in boys in the 7th grade, and I shot my shot twice in the 7th grade, and it was damaging to my self-esteem, okay, to say the least. And I carried that with me for, a couple of years. 9th grade, I started some dental work. I was living in New York at the time, so 7th through 9th grade, I was living in New York. My mom had really great health insurance, and I was able to start the process. However, my case is a rare case. So it started off as a trial and error process, where they started off with braces, right? Because they were like, okay, let's try to straighten what we can first and then see where we can fill in the gaps. So they put braces on the top part. However, the gap over here was too big for the braces, so they never completely finished the top. The ones on the bottom were not strong enough, and I'm age 13 at this point. The ones on the bottom were not strong enough or big enough to hold braces, because according to them, I still had some of my baby teeth. And they said I had what is called something about secondary teeth. I forgot what they called it. But basically, they told me that I didn't have any secondary teeth, or not all of my secondary teeth. So when I lost baby tooth, then no tooth came in place, right? So that's the extent, or the beginning stage of my dental situation. So when they started the trial and error process, this was 9th grade. We didn't complete it. They didn't know what they were doing. I vividly remember sitting in the chair at that first appointment, and the dentist is doing his examination. He's looking, and he stopped mid-examination to go get another dentist just so they can come and look also. And as a 13-year-old girl, there was a lot of emotions going on. Like, I was embarrassed. I felt bad. I felt like I was a freak. And I remember sinking into myself. And I stayed there for years. I sunk into myself, and I stayed there for years. The only time, or the only people who would get to see the real me were people that I established a relationship with, who obviously, didn't care about my smile or saw past that and got to know me, and I would allow them to see me. So I'd have a good time with, friends and family. But strangers or new people, I avoided it, at all costs, pretty much. Fast forward, we didn't complete the dental work in the 9th grade because my mom we were living in New York in an apartment. My mom wanted a house, right? We were coming from Jamaica, where we had a house, we had a yard, and that was something that was important to my mom. So we moved to Georgia, where she got her house, and we had a yard, we all had our own room, we had enough space to be and to live a quality life, right? So I don't resent my mom for that. For years, she used to think that I resented her for leaving New York, because what we didn't know is that when we moved to Georgia, dental insurance is a completely different arena in each state. We're new to this country, so we didn't know those things. So we thought we would have been able to easily get good enough dental insurance to continue the process and figure something out and have my, smile resolved before adulthood. However, moving to Georgia, we quickly realized that all insurance is not created the same. And we couldn't find a good enough insurance that could cover my dental work. So again, though, my teenage years, they weren't that bad. I had some, cool friends in high school Quite enough people who didn't really care, who didn't make me feel bad, for my smile. I was comfortable enough to enjoy high school, just enough. There were definitely, a few people there who may have said some things that didn't sit too well. But again, as a tomboy, I grew up knowing kind of like how to defend myself, or more so having tough skin. Especially growing up in a Jamaican household, tough skin was a requirement, right? But I'm also human, and I do have regular skin, so that tough skin only brought me but so far, right? It protected me in a lot of spaces where I was okay when people said certain things that hurt my feelings or reacted to me a certain way that, hurt my self-esteem. Now, again, high school I was able to express myself enough, just enough. After high school now is when things kind of like shifted again. I had to make, connections outside of the safety of the familiarity of like school and clubs and all that stuff. Now I'm connecting with people in the outside world that, don't know me from anywhere, and it's again seeming like a new avenue. Whenever I would have conversations with strangers, it would start off great until they noticed my teeth. And I could always vividly remember the moment that it happens. I could read their face the moment that they realize that I'm missing some of my teeth. And I'm not gonna hold y'all. After years of experiencing and encountering several different people, while we're having a conversation, the conversation is meaningful. And initially they were interested in the conversation, but because of my smile, they were no longer interested. They stopped listening and started wondering. And it did help me in a way where I now can read people well, because I've been doing it for so long, trying to defend myself and knowing when it's time to excuse myself out of a conversation or out of a space, because I realized that it was no longer safe for me because I wasn't connecting with someone who is seeing past my already insecurity, right? Now, again, those years I sunk into myself and I stayed there for years. My mom and I has always been close. Of course, we had some tough years where things weren't so the best. We didn't have effective communication, and some rocky years. Our relationship, through my growth, our relationship is now stronger than ever before. And in hindsight, as I've been reflecting and doing the inner work of becoming more aware of self and my behaviors, who I am and who I'm wanting to be and who I want to become, the woman that I'm creating, I realized that my mom experienced all of those years with me. And of course, again, I didn't realize it until after becoming an adult, or just reflecting on things, that it was also hard for her. Just as it was for me, it was for her. And those things affected our relationships, where she would always try to encourage me to why don't you do your hair, or how are you going to find a husband if you don't go outside all dressed up. I'm a tomboy. I didn't care to really always be dolled up. And also, I do have a rebellious spirit, so like whenever my mom would suggest things, I'd be like, I would want to do the exact opposite of that, because I felt like I didn't have to do that to appease to anyone, right? Because deep down there was a version of me that didn't know myself, even though I allowed fear of judgment and my insecurities to dictate most of my life. I was still aware enough to know that I am a quality individual, and my heart is in the right place. Like, I have good intents, and I know that counted for something. But again, she was experiencing my life, but from her perspective. And she was also hurting and blaming herself, something that I was also experiencing, right? I was hurting and blaming myself. She was hurting and blaming herself because she felt like, again, she thought I resented her because she moved to Georgia and we weren't able to continue my dental work. And so she blamed herself for me being an adult and not having a smile, and her realizing that, I didn't date much. And when I did, it was not with the right people, because I was, kind of like settling to be with people because I felt like I wasn't good enough for more, or I wasn't good enough for the type of man that I desired right then. But again, this podcast episode is entitled My Journey Redefined. So this is me mentally reminding myself as I'm talking through this and like reflecting on the way I used to feel in those times and in those spaces. Now, I did make a note here is that if we all take some time to look around us, we'll realize that we are all experiencing this same world, but from our individual perspectives. We can finally start to treat each other better if we realize that, right? And as I just kind of fumbled that word, that's like another thing that has gotten bad over the years. Again, I've been dealing with this since a little girl. And the past couple of years, I want to say like the last since 2022 to now, the last about, 3 years. So the past 3+ years, I've had to pull some of my teeth. So I have obviously less than what I did then. And it affects my speech sometimes. Most people don't notice it, and sometimes when I say that to people, they're just like, "Oh, you articulate yourself so well. You have the gift of gab. You can speak so well." And I always appreciate those things. But there's also a part of me that's just like, yeah, but you don't even realize how much it troubles me to realize that I'm, saying this thing or I'm having this conversation and I fumble my words. Like, I would beat myself up inside of my own head, like, but something that I have grown through and is still growing through, right? We grow through what we go through. And I have been growing through all of that. So again, I'm glad to be here, sharing this with you guys from a space of empowerment. The older version of me could not have this conversation, could not share anything about my smile without crying. And for the people who have been in my life, they know this. Anytime I got into a space where I felt like I needed to talk about it or express myself, like I would legit just start crying. Like I couldn't, I'm gonna kind of like, pull myself back because now I'm reflecting on those moments and how I felt and that I needed to cry. So I'm grateful that I can be here, recording a whole full-blown podcast episode I'm gonna put on the internet, which is not for the weak, because the internet can be a weird space sometimes. But I've finally grown to the place where, though that old version of me no longer has power here. So now fast forward, I've given y'all the back end story. I may split this up into a part 1 and part 2, depending on where I am at this moment here. I might cut it. So if I do, check out the next, the part 2 of this episode. Now, again, fast forward to like my life redefined. 2022, I was working at UPS. Oh man, I said I was going to talk about the places that I've worked just in case. But I was working at UPS. I was a supervisor, graveyard shift inside their warehouse. And I had a work bestie at the time where we got really close to where we could talk about like some deep stuff. And we had time to talk about stuff. And, she held space for me to be vulnerable. And through all of those conversations with her, and also it was also that year, I committed to the job at UPS because warehouse jobs are not for the weak. I committed to that job because I heard that they have some of the best health insurance out there. And I was trying to get some health insurance that was going to help me fix my smile. When they make you wait 9 months for the health insurance. When I got the health insurance and I went to the dentist, I was quoted higher than when I did not have health insurance. I bawled. I cried. I cried so hard, I went to the bathroom. I took a whole roll of tissue. I was in the bathroom trying to stop because when I cried, when I'm really, really crying, it's really hard for me to stop. I remember being inside the dental office's bathroom and I'm pulling the roll of tissue because I just want to stop. I'm trying to stop. It's just like, you'd have thought a dam broke and I'm trying to soak it up type situation. Because I'm just like, how I worked this hard to come and get this insurance just for them to tell me that it's going to cost me more than what they originally quote me. And then they were going to take about 3 or 4 times what I was going to have to pay from my insurance as well. So I'm just like, this might be a scam. But that's a topic for another day. I'm not gonna get too much into it because that might still hurt just a little bit. Anyhow, back to the conversation I've been able to have with my friend. During those years, I did again get more of my teeth pulled. There was like one sitting where I went and got like, I want to say 4 or 5 teeth pulled in one sitting. I remember 2 different occasions where I had to get some teeth pulled those years. And when I was sharing with her about the whole insurance thing and how I have this good quality insurance, but it still does not take care of my current need. It doesn't, like, it can take care of so many other things that I don't even take care of right now, but it's one thing the insurance system does not cover. Anyhow, while talking with her, at one point I came to the realization, she helped me to realize that my dental thing has been trauma. It has been full-blown trauma for me, but I did not recognize it as trauma. I just thought it was something that I had to deal with and get over and over again until I fixed it. And when we had that conversation and we came to the realization that, this is traumatic for me, and that's why every time I would have the conversation, I used to cry. And it's the same thing whenever I go into a dental office, still to this day, I have to fight emotionally to not cry. So realizing that was trauma, I went to Jamaica for a month, and my UPS was expecting me to come back to work, and I did not go back. I was done because I was overworked for this insurance that couldn't help me. I went to Jamaica for a month, and during that month, I didn't make any plans to do anything crazy. I literally just took a month off from living in America, worrying about bills, worrying about this, that, or the other, and I was just at peace for a whole month, just living off of the island, just, enjoying fresh foods and good cool breeze and quality air, all types of things, and the month was just needed. And during that month, I was working on my book. This is not my book, but I was working on my book that's not published yet, so look out for that. And I took that month to work on the book and ultimately just kind of like do a recalibration of like my life and like what I wanted out of it. And between realizing that my dental situation is trauma for me and also me wanting to, me working on breaking generational trauma within my own family, those 2 things, combined led me to getting my life coaching certification where I focus on healing. And the life stuff, the family stuff, the family generational trauma stuff is a whole nother series of episodes within yourself, right? So I'm not even going to get into that. But it led me to get certified as a life coach, focusing on healing and developing a framework to help other people to be able to redefine their life. Come from a space where you were too afraid to show up for yourself. Like, I used to literally avoid opportunities because of my smile. Guys would be trying to talk to me on the street and I would just give them a blank, straight face, no, nothing. Because my mind's like, if I communicate back or if I try to flirt back, they're gonna see my smile, they're gonna get turned off, and then my feelings are gonna be hurt. So to avoid that, I just avoided everything that I could avoid. But that's not quality living. Like, nobody wants that for themselves. So I'm not sure who I'm talking to. I'm not sure who this episode is for. But like, if you are holding yourself back, doing any type of self-sabotage, allowing your behaviors, your old conditioning to dictate your life, allowing fear to stop you from showing up and remembering that you are that girl, I'm here to tell you, I created a journal. Actually, before I get into the journal, again, this is why I might break this up into a part 2. Fast forward, after building my coaching business, I, have my Instagram page where I shared myself, but not me talking a lot because I still have the fear of my smile, right? I've done the inner work to really love myself despite still wanting to fix my smile. But when I would show up on social media, I would rather just do long captions or put quotes on there of my voice because it was easier than actually expressing my voice on camera, right? So I will be doing more of that. So you can find me on Instagram at a.redefinedme.ka. That's my coaching brand. And of course, you guys already know the group.chat for the group chat Instagram page. Now, I built it, but I was still not showing up how I should. I was not showing up as that girl. I was not showing up as I know who I am, right? I was still kind of hiding a little bit behind the screen. Build that for a year. Now, year 2 into my business, I also started dating. Right? Was that year 2 or year 3? Technically year 3. No, technically year 2, because it was the end of 2022 when I was in Jamaica. I started my business at the beginning of 2023, and then the year 2024, I started dating. And also at that same time was when I came across AJ McQueen's music, hence the shirt. Because, like, shout out to my guy AJ. I'm about to tell y'all how he's been a catalyst for this next season in my life. Started dating and also got introduced to AJ's music or came across his music around that same time. So now every time I got my boyfriend's car, I had the aux and AJ was coming out the speakers. And I was singing his songs with my whole chest, and I wouldn't just sing the songs. I would also express to my boyfriend how impactful the song is to me and what it means for me in my life, and the fact that I experienced this. He has a song called Inner Child, he has a song called Spark, and all of those, his whole catalog at this point resonates so well with me. So I really get excited about the music. Now, I'm not a fangirl. I've never been a fangirl. I might like something, I'll run your screams up if I rock with the music. But I wouldn't care about what's going on in your life. I wouldn't listen to what you're doing because, celebrities and the way people react to celebrities create this thing that my rebellious spirit just don't go for at all. Where it's people idolize celebrities and they're so fixated on someone else's life that they forget to live their own life. And that just never set right with me. However, because I enjoy the music so much, AJ had a meet and greet. His first meet and greet, I got my shirt signed, was June 10th in 2024, right? My boyfriend surprised us with tickets, meet and greet tickets at that. We've been to small concerts before, and we would always talk about something, we don't really care about meet and greet tickets because what am I going to meet you for? To be hey, I like your music. You already know that, that's why I'm here, right? So we never cared about meet and greet tickets. So when he got me the meet and greet tickets, I was like, why would you do that? I would have been cool just going to a concert. We don't need no meet and greet tickets. But shout out to my boyfriend because I'm so glad that he did. I'm so glad that he did. When we got to the concert for the meet and greet, of course, we're there early because we just pay for these tickets. We're going to make sure we get all of the experience, not knowing what we're in for. The first thing that I recognized in my spirit in that space is that everyone was vibrating on a high frequency, a self-love frequency. And nobody was judgmental. I felt safe in that space and I loved it. My inner child felt safe. My adult self felt safe. We was connected. Before everything came out, we was all in the room just connecting, just loving on each other, complimenting each other, men and women. And, I literally met some friends there. We're social media friends, but friends nonetheless. But that's what his music, does. It pulls to people who are already on a journey of self-love and wanting to be more aware of self and, acknowledging the power within, right? He has a brand called God Body Energy. And that's what his music is kind of waking up in people, that God Body Energy, reminding you of who you are. So at this first meet and greet, again, I didn't know what to expect. I've never been to a meet and greet before. When he sat down there after, the brief little intro, he was just instead of just y'all asking me questions, I want to ask y'all a question. What brought y'all here? Why y'all here? And he opened up the floor for all of us to share why we're here. And again, it was just a beautiful energy in the room of everyone sharing of like how they've gone through certain things and how his music kind of like was, a catalyst to help them through. Like they'll put it on and, they'll remember like health is wealth and, prioritizing your mental health and just everything that his music embodies. I also shared that day, and I literally shared like, y'all, I'm afraid of speaking, but I'm here because I don't remember exactly what I said. It's in the highlights on my Instagram page, because shout out to me. But that was the first meet and greet, right? And then now AJ had a second meet and greet in November. I believe it was November 5th. I only remember because my birthday is October 23rd, and why my boyfriend surprised me with meet and greet tickets again. And when he did that, it was for my birthday. But when he did that, I'm just like, I already see them. Granted, I know now what the atmosphere is like, so I was still excited. But I was like, I didn't necessarily have to have meet and greet tickets again. But I'm glad that he did. And I went to the second meet and greet. Again, another phenomenal experience. When I went to this meet and greet this time, I had already been working on this journal. And I was just like, I'm going to shoot my shot, because his music also aligns with what I'm building as a coach. And I was like, the fact that there's this I'm getting another meet and greet that, I didn't think about or, plan for myself. I was like, in my flesh, it wanted to see an opportunity and take advantage of the opportunity. And I'm going to explain why I say that. Now, I shot my shot there at that meet and greet, and, he was just like, he told me to, message his, get with the assistant, whatever. I'm not going to go into too much back end details on that part. But in my flesh, I felt like I needed to partner with AJ to be able to build my brand, because it aligned so well, right? I never thought about a big, partnering with someone of his, as a celebrity beforehand, because again, I don't care for like the fluff of people idolizing celebrities, right? However, his brand is for the people. And I was like, oh man, I would love that opportunity to like partner with him, because it just makes so sense in my head. Now, one of my favorite things, and why I'll always show up whenever AJ is hosting something, if I can, of course, is that he always points your power back to you. At that second meet and greet, he talked about, oh my gosh, I forgot what it's called again, but I think it's the Jonas symptom. The thing where you're afraid of success. I'm gonna hurt myself or pinch myself later for forgetting what it's called. But that phrase where they say you're afraid of success, and I didn't know what it was called until that day. And I was like, dang, that might be me, because I'm afraid of putting myself out there when I know I have a lot to share, right? But he, again, points your power back to you. He doesn't care to be idolized. He's not looking for a fan of chicken heads just plop, plop, plop. But he's wanting to empower the people to really think for themselves, right? And that right there was like fuel for me. So again, whenever he spoke, I was reminded, like, I don't need you. Like, literally while I was there, he was like telling me, like, you don't need me. You don't need to partner. He wasn't talking to me directly, right? He was talking to all of us. But he was like, you don't need me. You can do your own thing. Like, you can build your own thing. Like, you are great. Like, God is in your body just like how he's in mine. Like, I built this from the ground up. You can build your thing from the ground up. And it's the empowering catalyst that I needed to like really shift into embodying this redefined version of me. Because again, I've already done all the back end work from all the life stuff and the old version of myself had to deal with, and those fears and doubts and the self-sabotaging behaviors, right? And I already started building my brand and, creating this package where I can help other people to do that same thing. Fast forward, 2025, in January, he drops that he's having God Body Weekend. I wasn't aware of God Body Weekend prior, because like I said, I never really followed people's lives until after the second meeting. I think is when I started really paying attention to like the life and like the stuff that he's doing, right? Because, and the stuff that he's doing. So he said he's doing God Body Weekend. When I looked at it, it was the itinerary of healing stuff, right? There was art therapy, there was inner child play day, we had, a music festival, there was a panel of called God Talks, where a couple of people who I also love their voice in the same space of healing and mental health. So I'm just like, I'm going. He dropped the tickets on Sunday, and I would have got them on Sunday if I remembered Sunday was Sunday. I ended up getting tickets on Monday. That's how I was so ready to go. I had no idea how I was going to get to Houston. I had no idea if I had the time off to cover it. It was like I just had to go because I'm wanting to, again, be in this safe space again. I'm wanting to connect with people who are loving themselves, because the older version of me were connected with people who didn't really love themselves, right? And I think my life was also a reflection of that, not loving myself. So anyways, I was just excited to be in this space with people. Now, there was an opportunity for me to be a vendor at this weekend. So I soft launched my journal at one of the events, at the God Talks event. It was my first time ever, launching anything or doing a soft launch, and I did it and I didn't tell anybody except for my mom and one of my close friends. And I literally told her the day before, and my cousin. So I'm just the older version of me would be so excited about something that I'm doing, I would tell everybody and their mama, and then end up not doing it. That was a word for somebody now, okay? So I'm glad that the redefined version of me also can keep things quiet for a little bit, right? And do it well, instead of just being excited about it and talking about it and not actually putting it into work, right? That's something that we all have to get over to be able to actually accomplish dreams and goals and something. It doesn't even have to be something big, it can be something simple, right? Hush your mouth sometimes and just do the thing, yeah? Now, the healing journal is broken up into 3 parts. It's a three-phase framework that always gets me. The first phase is recognizing your traumas, and it has 4 weeks of journal prompts to help you to recognize your traumas, basically kind of like doing shadow work, right? Phase 2 is release. So activities and journal prompts, again, another 4 weeks of journal prompts for that phase, and activities to help you to release that trauma from your body, from your mind, from your being, just letting it go, right? Because now that you've recognized what the problem is and how it's dictating your life and how it has your mind or have you afraid of certain things, now it's time to release it and let it go, right? And then the third phase is redefined, right? The redefined version of you, rewriting your entire narrative. Pick a whole new avatar, right? Change up your outfit, the fits for however you want to visualize it, redefining your journey. You are able to do that. You do not have to stay confined to your old self. You don't have to stay confined to the person you were yesterday. For the people who in my life right now, I change me. I'm not just change me, but I'm continuously evolving, right? So don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid of letting go. And remember that you are able to step into, again, a whole new persona, right? So I did create this journal. It's available on my website for a purchase to help you get there. Now, this journal is literally, it's just a catalyst for you, right? This is not where your journey ends. This is where it begins. Once you complete this journal, then you're going to have to put in the work, right? And healing is not linear, right? So you're not going to be completely healed after completing the journal, but you will have the tools and the knowledge and the know-how of how to continue to maneuver on your healing journey after you've completed this journal to continually live a redefined life. You'll know what that looks like. You'll have a clear vision for your life. I also have a dream list exercise. Once you subscribe to the newsletter on my website, in the welcome email, it's going to come with a dream list exercise, which is going to help you to clarify the vision for your life, right? Before you know where you want to go or what you want to do, you need to get clear on what that looks like, becoming specific on various different areas of your life. So there's an exercise. Just sign up to my newsletter and it'll be in your email inbox. and you can start there to clarify that vision for your life. And then get you a copy of the journal to start to actually put in some work of understanding yourself, becoming aware of self, your behaviors, your triggers, and then navigating and shifting into a redefined version of you. Now, I'm going to wrap up on this note. At the God Body Weekend, there was one event that was invite only. It was an invite only brunch. When I saw it on the lineup of activities, I'm like, oh, I wonder what it takes to be invited to the invite only brunch, right? Because at this point, like, I'm all for everything that he has going on, right? I'm all for the community that he's building. It's what we need as a people. Don't miss that part. And he occasionally comes on Instagram Live and just like, just talk with me and just, catch a vibe on Instagram Live, and of course, promote the stuff that he has going on and coming up. So I was on there one day before God Body Weekend, and I just shot my shot. And when I shot my shot, I wasn't, feeling like entitled or like he had to reply to what I said. I was just hoping that he would have said something so I can prepare for the next God Body Weekend. So I asked him, I said, how do I get invited to the invite-only brunch? Again, I'm hoping he's going to drop a seed so I can be like, okay, now I know what I need to do to be invited next year. I'm literally already planning for next God Body Weekend, and I haven't even been to the first one yet, right? However, he recognized my handle, and he was like, you was at my last meet and greet, right? And I was like, both of them. While I was saying that, he was also like, yeah, you can be invited to the brunch. And I was just like, what did I do? How? Why? I didn't understand why he opened up the invite to the invite-only brunch until I got there. So now, I didn't know what to expect from this brunch. I'm thinking it's going to be like, either a long table or just a couple of tables. We'll all sit down, eat some good food, and chit-chat, laugh, and call it a day. At the brunch, I'm going to share some clips on my Instagram. I haven't yet. At the brunch, he said that the reason why he invited everyone who was in that room to the invite-only brunch was because of our energy. Because he said something felt right with our energy. And I'm not saying it as far as like, oh my gosh, because he said something is right with my energy, then that means my energy must be good. I already knew my energy was good. And it was just like, we are reflections of each other. We are mirrors of each other. Right? So when he said that, of course, that I definitely felt good in my spirit, like, dang, I got invited because he rocks with my energy. When you have people who've been knowing you for years and are jealous of your energy, or make you feel some type of way for being what they might seem like, too much. You're in a space with people that you've known for years and you dim your own light because you feel like you're too much, you're just in the wrong spaces, okay? When I was at this brunch, and he said he opened up, it wasn't, I don't think there was any tables at all. No, there were some tables, but it was a nice venue where it was really artsy and a lot of cool furniture. And dang, I feel like I'm spilling the tea, but it's not the secret, right? Anyways, he designed it for us to be able to network and connect with people. And it was after reflecting on that brunch, I realized that every time when I would try to when I would go to AJ to say something at any of the events that he's put on, I always kind of get a little bit nervous or fumble my words because I'm just like, I don't know what to say. And upon reflecting, I realized that I was battling between my flesh and my spirit. My flesh wanted to be like, hey, let's work with me so I can level up and so I can do. But spirit was just like, just keep on showing up. You don't need nobody. Just keep on being you, keep on showing up, and keep on walking in what you're supposed to walk into. Keep on building your thing, and it's going to get traction. And when we got to the brunch and the way it was all designed, I connected with so many dope people. Even if those relationships don't continue and carry on after this, of course, I'm going to do my part to try to continue and establish those relationships that those people that I connected with at the week of that weekend, right? But we're not entitled to anything, so I'm not going to hold anyone to any type of expectation to maintain a relationship with me. But it was just that's exactly what I was looking for out of communicating with AJ. It wasn't necessarily working with him directly, but just being able to have the opportunity to be in that space, having an opportunity to go to God Body Weekend, having an opportunity to be a vendor at God Body Weekend. And he was already doing what I was looking for. So I didn't need to ask him for nothing, which ironically enough, every time I do talk to him, because I would always kind of like fumble my words and not know what to say, I would always just leave with gratitude and express like, yo, I'm really grateful for the space that you're creating. Because that, the safety energy that I felt there, and the fact that it was just like so many people and strangers was a reminder to me that there are people out there. There are safe people out there. There are people out there who are vibrating at a frequency to where they're not judgmental, right? Judgment is a low vibrational frequency. Hate, anger, all of those things are low vibrational frequency. Versus like love, joy, and peace, which ironically enough is in one of my poems. Those are high vibrational frequencies. And people who are vibrating on a high vibrational frequency, you can feel safe around them. And there are a lot of spaces that have people where you can feel safe around. And I needed that reminder to like not be afraid to show up. I needed that reminder that the right people, gosh, when I told you, like, I was having a conversation with a young lady, and she's a therapist, and the way we met was a funny story. I'll, if her and I do, connect, and I get her in this podcast here with me, I can't wait to share that story with y'all. It was the funniest story. Like, one of my biggest fears came true, but it was in a safe space, so I ended up connecting with her, and like we were talking, and it was like me and her were the only people in the room. Mind you, it's like that we're talking, I'm just like, oh my God, and we're excited. And that happened with several different connections. So where it's just like, it was just me and them in the room. It was just genuine connecting with people. Even again, if it doesn't go anywhere, it was impactful enough to where it's just like, I got this. Like, I'm worth it. I know who I am. I'm a loss of words, so that's what I am now. But yeah, I'm gonna share I'm gonna share a different episode on my vending experience, because that's also in itself an entire episode. But thank you guys. If you stay till the end, I appreciate you. If you have a story that you want to share, if you have a story that you want to share, you can DM me, and you can definitely join me in here, because I definitely, I did not create this space for just me. I created it for all of us. Like, I want more of us to be comfortable with sharing our stories the way I was able to do today. So space is open, platform was created for you to come and talk about your story redefined. I'd love to hear it. Until next time, later. This is me trying to avoid throwing up the peace sign because I think it has me in a chokehold. Bye. I was supposed to be drinking water and everything. Oh my gosh.